morning, my brothers and sisters. My name is Tatashishke, which means red elk. And you are watching this film, trying to find out what is going to be going on in the future. Curiosity, whether you laugh at me or not, it matters not. I've been ordered to give what I've been shown and to teach what I know up to a point. And, I will start this with a prayer, but before the prayer time, I would like to say, don't believe a word I say. I don't want people running out there with red elk said this, red elk said that. I want you to, in whatever way or manner that you can possibly do it, I want you to check and find out if this is true. There is only one Creator, one God. Many, many names for this one God. So you go to your cultural way and you seek His knowledge and find out if I speak true or with a split tongue. Now, if you don't mind, I'll probably maybe interpret a little bit, but I'll pray in my way and know that this is from the heart. I tell you, hi, ikora chichi, oh ikora chichi, tiotara eniskene, kachata kwete no kwa, piota kwate ta namahiwata kiote, naraska. Ichata klikwa, maske echitukwa. Hichata ta kanchieta tukumbahi taita nyakko. Hala hiuchute kochata imiata. Ila kwata nahi aihi. Aiska. Ho. Basically, I said, oh, we go to Chichi, which breaks down into, O great and living Creator. That is also a word that is used since the beginning of mankind, beginning of soul bearers. And it's used universally. And there are many people out there. We are not the only planet in all of God's creation that have soul-bearing people on board their planet. Aliens to you, I suppose. But brothers and sisters, to me, I don't care what they look like. And made for their environment. Their bodies are made for their environment, and a lot of them don't look like us. But I was asking the Creator to take this telling, this time of the vision and visions, because there'll be a little bit more on Him. That it touches your ears and touches your heart, and that you will pray about it. That, like I said, in your own way. If your God's name is Allah, you go to Allah. He knows His name. If your God's name is Cosmos, you go to Cosmos. He knows His name. If your God is not a he but a she, don't worry about it. He knows His name. And He knows His gender, which is literally neither male nor female. But you pray about these things, and I've asked the Creator that this touches your hearing, touches your heart, and that it goes to the person over in that chair, and that chair, and that chair is watching, and all around the world, all around our earth, that this message gets out, and that each individual, please, each individual pray, talk to Papa in your own way, and see if this holds true or not. Now, I've been, in the contact with the world's people for quite a while now. I've gotten a lot of letters that said, I've seen this, I dreamt that, or vision here, and dream there, or think this, or think that. And it does not surprise me in the least that many of these things are in. So, in our way, the Inahayuka, we're taught to test 3 times. And we're taught, first off, if it's morally correct, what you see or whatnot, is morally correct and causes no man harm, the chances are very great it is of the great Creator. Doesn't guarantee it, but the chances are it's very great. So we test 3 times. And in that testing we find out if at any time something that I recall seeing or something wavers, just wavers in my thoughts, then I just tell them, go stick it in the mud. You know, make up your mind, dude. Because I don't think it's of the Creator. And there's a number of times over the many years that I managed to struggle on this planet that, well, the scripture says he, meaning Lucifer, the dark one, can come as an angel of light. And I've seen that happen. And in the testing, the 3-way testing, often it would either waver if it's not of the Creator, or blink off would go the sight of the Christ-like, angelic-like, Christ-like being that any would accept to be Jesus. But because I test, I learned that there's times that it's not who you think it is. And I would suggest that you test 3 times too. If it wavers or disappears, it's not of that. If it's morally correct and causes man no harm, it's a very good chance what you're seeing is of the Creator. But you must check that. All right, in 72, 74, I went on a 69-day fast. Now, people had jumped all over me, said, oh, this guy's full of bull, he's a liar. He'd be dead. Well, they don't read what I've got on my website. I tell them flat out, I took vitamins and juices. Now, period. Get that in your head. Don't say I'm full of bull because I made the statement I fasted 69 days. I fasted nothing, no solid food past my lips. And I ended up at 179 pounds. I lost 79.5 pounds during this fast. And gives you an idea, I was a pretty big man at the time. But somewhere along in that fast, in the 40-day area, 40-day period between the 40th and 50th day, I started seeing something. Now this is why I'm walking about, just doing my daily life. And suddenly the vision came, and it didn't stun me to the point where I had to sit down just to watch. I could just go about doing what I'm doing. Split. Seeing what I'm seeing and seeing what I need to see to get the day's work done and chores done. But it constantly split of 2 minds. And didn't go on very long. An hour maybe, that first time. And then it stopped. And then the next day, bang, it came again, leaving where it had stopped, or it's starting where it stopped, give me a little tiny bit of the background of the ending of the day before, kind of a reintroduction, and then continued on for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half the second day. And then it stopped. And the third day it occurred again, until I had, over the 3-day period, I had this great scene. And it was nothing that I wanted to see. I really wish he'd quit this. At least give it to somebody else. But what I see has got to be shared. And that's why he's given it to me, and I've had the opportunity to talk around the world on the radio and stuff. And he set all that up too. But I sure wish he'd give this to somebody else. Oh, God in heaven, how I wish that. But anyway, don't say men don't cry. I consider myself a man. Folks, what I was showing during those 3 days was so horrible that when it flooded in, all I wanted to do was cry and go out and literally throw up. I didn't, but it was there again. Like the first time and the other 3 times he showed it. But, like I said, out there with my tobacco, I said, nevertheless, your will be done, Father. And it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And for some strange reason, he picked this old twit. But nevertheless, bricks holding up buildings that lie empty. This all I saw before it happened. Now I'll get kind of orientated because the great vision just showed things that covered overall. It didn't say this day this will happen, that month that will happen, that year that will happen. It was just over a period of time. I couldn't tell you for sure what would be first, what would be next, what would be last. But I can sure tell you what I saw. I saw a drought so big. Like, I don't know, in the 20s or whatever it was, when everybody was leaving their farmland and going to California just to survive. Just drought, winds, dry, hot. Oh my gosh, it was hot. No plants. During this uprising of the drought was the uprising of insects, locusts if you want, grasshoppers otherwise. Big ones, like that, you know, pretty colors. Kind of, I guess you'd call them a Texas grasshopper. Huge mouths, real, and they exist right now in certain areas of the USA. I've seen them. I mean, not just in vision, but I've held them in my hand. And little grasshoppers and ants and bugs. Every kind of insect that eats a green thing was eating anything that they could find that existed, that they could even call used to be green. And there was no food for us because of this drought, and our children are starving to death. Little kids, tummies extended, like the adults you see at Holocaust movie things. Like in Africa, you see these little kids with big eyes, but they were our children, they were not an African. This time, folks, Africa's coming here. Lots of bugs, lots and lots of bugs. Lots of drought, strange weather. And you know, this is being filmed in March, I think it is, of 2005, right at the beginning. And you know, our weather is just wacko. I saw it long before it was wacko. I see great, at this time in the vision, great snowstorms, great ice, great cold. I see great, at this time in the vision, great snowstorms, great ice, great cold at certain times or certain places of America. Just has never happened like that in these places. Down in the southern states up along our eastern seaboard, spreading inland towards Washington, towards mid-America. And then, but the drought seemed, if I can recall correctly, seemed to be in mostly our farm belts. Center America, wheat farms and stuff. And the storms, the winds, my gosh. Give me a good hurricane and a place to get my rear end under cover. These winds that I see, and I was sure, will rip a lot of those covers off my rear end is trying to be protected by. Huge winds, just washing across the lands. I saw mostly everything I was showing was the USA, a little overlap into Canada. And some of the vision, not necessarily the weather part, but involved a little bit of South America and Mexico. And gosh, folks, we're going to be hit left and right. We're going to be slammed from our bottom of our feet right down the top of our head. We're going to be like we're in a compressor that compresses an old car and makes it into a chunk of metal. But we're going to be really tiny, each of us, just whipped, beat, trod, dying, a lot of dying. The East Coast looks really bad. I saw lots of freight cars draped in black cloth, soft, light cloth, like crepe paper. Now that doesn't mean that that is going to actually happen, but it was showing the semblance of what it's about. These freight cars were loaded with bodies, men and women and children. Starved bodies. Bodies sick from strange diseases that have died. All, I said, that East Coast, it gets hit real hard, really hard. And the freight trains haul the bodies to the Dakotas and throw them in the great Auroras because they're dying so dang fast, no caterpillar cat can keep up with digging holes. Well, they put them in the Auroras because the holes are already made. Just pull up alongside there and tilt the beds or whatever, and the bodies spill out and fall down into those great holes. And then they go back and get more, and more, and more, and more. You wonder if it'll ever end. Our children. You know, it's bad enough, adults, but our children. And you Indians, if you think that you're going to miss out, boy, you better have another thing coming. It's going to be all across the USA. Sure, it's going to get hit hardest from the East Coast. At least the trains are coming from that way. But I'll guarantee you, death is going to be so great in the United States that you wonder if there's an engineer able to pull the throttle on a freighter, on the train's front end. Terrible, folks. We're bringing this all on ourselves. You idiots. I'm part of it, and every one of you are part of it. You wonder where you're going to get the money to pay your gasoline for your car or your heat. And then you wonder where you're going to come up with all that show and tell, like the new jet water ski and the new car. And I tell you, you're worried about the wrong dang things. There's something far more important than keeping up with the Joneses. It's keeping your heart right with the Creator. living the way you were supposed to live in love, the way you were born, so innocent, into a so-called sinful disobedience to God. That's what that means. World. You were never born a sinner. No man or woman is. No child is born a sinner. But they're born into it and accept it, and they just start feeding on it, and then they start throwing that food out as they go on to other little innocents, so that they follow after mama and daddy. Forget God, go get a jet ski. Jeez, you're idiots. You're bringing it on yourself. And there's some of you that have got to pay the price. They really shouldn't pay the price because they are right. But the majority rules. And because you're bringing it down on you, you're bringing it down on everybody. Earthquakes. All over the place. My gosh, don't lay down on some beach to get a sunbath at some time, I tell you. Little cracks, like human hair that fall on a piece of paper. Nobody's going to fall in a little crack, but it's just spread out from bigger cracks, like breaking an egg. You've got a big opening, but a lot of little cracks in the shell. It's all over. And these earthquakes are going to be gigantic. And they're so many, so big, that it affects the whole land called North America. Little cracks, like the eggshell. And it goes into Canada. I don't, like I said, everything I saw was showing this country called America, but overlaps into little South America, Mexico, and Canada. Evidently these places, well, they got their own problems, and don't know how bad it's going to be for them, but I don't see good for them. America, the leader. Yes, we are the leader. Leader of so-called democracy, freedom. Well, the leader agreed. The leader of do it our way. The leader of pride, self-ego. We're the leaders. And we're going to fall big time. And we're going to drag a lot of people down with us when we do it. All around this great turtle called our mother. It has to start somewhere, America. Raise your hand, thank God. Hey, we started the new movement. We started the destroying time. Kiss your rear goodbye, you idiots. It's worse than this world has ever known, even during the 4 previous flips. Far worse. Madness. Madness here in America. People going bug nuts. Not for bugs, although people will be eating those too. Anything to survive. Anything. Even your little kid. A long pig. A hank of bone and a piece of hair. A little 3-year-old baby killed so that you could live just a few more weeks. You're going to face one very, very disgusted creator. Long pigs. Eat your own kind. Murdering. Murdering just because you can. Murdering for food. Murdering just because you can. Murdering for food. Murdering for the hell of it. Madness. The world goes mad. But America, oh, the leader. Don't worry, folks, we'll show them the way. God help our planet. God help your souls. And you got souls. You are responsible for what goes on in your own head, in your own home, your own household. You are responsible for your own souls. And you are the responsibility of this great planet that could have been so great. And at one time was, several one times. But you're following your former elders, your former ancestors, people that you forgot, and archaeologists are digging up bits and pieces. Hey, that civilization used to be here. They forgot to, and you're just following in their footsteps. They forgot that we came here to love one another and to have compassion and to help the elderly and to help that little baby not to grow up to learn how to steal, but to grow up and learn how to love. So that one could help somebody, and that somebody in turn is helping somebody, and we live in a wonderful, wonderful place called love. And the trees grow, and the animals, they dance, and the birds sing. Not over territory, but just in Matakwiosh, one relation with everybody, even the two-leggeds. Folks, I watched adults look like nurses, it looked like standard civilians and so forth, just taking little kids, running with them, grabbing them and running like that, bent over, trying to protect little children and taking them to hospitals. Now these kids looked okay, but they were protecting them from something and putting them in the hospital. Save the children, save the children, save the children. Even at your own expense, it was that type of thing. Save our generations ahead. Grab a kid. Let the old man and the old lady die. They've already had their time. Let's save our future. Like the giant condor. Go and get all the condors. Bring them right here and we'll save them and we'll mate them. And it's working. Like that. Fear, 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 madness. Skies, ugly in color. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing this right now. Oh, a light blue-gray is a wonderful day. But dark, filthy gray, even black, like coal dust in the wind blowing in a slow breeze. It will be. This is not a like the crate, black crate on the freight cars. The freight cars and the dead will be, but the crate represented so many and the two piles of dead. This will be fact. The airs will be strange. The skies will. I don't know if you can call it polluted or what. It's certainly from huge volcano activity and industry activity and God knows what else activity. I don't know. I don't know what brings all this dust and dirt across our great grandfather the sun and grandmother the moon. But you don't see the sun really anymore. You know it's there because it's lighter black than it was just a few hours ago. And people running, grabbing little kids, taking them to these hospitals. And I see these, at the glass doors, the ladies with a cross on their hats, the nurses all wearing white. Here come one or a group of people protecting these little kids And they were protecting the door. And then when they get up to the door, quick, they'd open the door, grab the kid, boom! It was like the air was poison or something. I don't know. But those doors were not open until they needed to be opened. And they were closed just as quickly as they could do it. People walking away, I'm seeing it now, part of this great flooding that happened a few minutes ago. People after delivering a child, or a bunch of people delivering a few more than one, turning around with tears in their eyes, knowing that they're turning around back into this ugliness, this death. But they're volunteers. They're doing it for the sake of our future. They know they're going to die, but they're going to save the kids. Thank God for people like that. Because the whole world is not like that. But there's going to be a big change in people, adults' hearts, and they are going to sacrifice their own ability to breathe, eat, drink, live, to save the future children. And they know that they can't go in that door when the door is open. They know it. They get killed. Kicked out, I guess. I don't know. They know it. But it's okay. And they turn around and tears are coming down their eyes, men and women. And they went out to look for more kids. Or to just simply walk off and find a little corner and die. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. Volcanoes like you wouldn't believe. Our mother is so sick and tired of us not giving thanks, just taking, not considering all the love that put out by her own heartbeat to help to feed us. We've become an infestation of fleas on a beautiful dog's back. And she's becoming mangy. And she itches bad. And the Creator calls repent. That word means turn away from. Repent ye sinners. Again, the word sinners means disobedience to God. And the Creator is pounding down at this very moment to the hearts of all the people on this planet. Turn away from disobeying me. Turn away from disobeying me. But you want to keep up with the Joneses and have your damn jet water skis. You want to live. Maybe not the jet water ski. All you want to do is get some medicine or some food in your mouth. And tell you the truth, turn away from disobeying the Creator. And like magic, a plate full of wonderful food will appear. Physically appear from the air. He can do it. If an Ishkane could feed 5,000 with just a few loaves and some fish, you better believe he can do it. It's been known to happen. Fear rules mankind during this great vision. Total, obnoxious fear. Thinking of your own self and your own family, and who can blame you? Grab a gun, lock the door. Don't let anybody in. Don't let them see that we have bread on our table. Because they'll kill you for it, because they don't have it. Madness all over our USA. Because they'll kill you for it, because they don't have it. madness all over our USA and eventually the world. I saw Mount St. Helens long before it blew up. I lived right there. They had what they called the red zone, where she blew, in the blue zone. Nobody was able to live there except the people that lived there. Nobody was able to come in and out except the people that lived there. And I lived in the blue zone. And I was there when that took place. And I saw that blow up a year before it blew up. And I saw thousands of trees piled one on top of the other, just poof, going down. I didn't know what mountain it was. I knew it was on the west coast. I didn't know it was my mountain, Mount Rainier. I knew it wasn't down in California. I knew it wasn't up in Alaska. But I didn't know. Maybe northern California. I don't know. I was taken away on the shores. And turned around and looked back from way off. And I saw this beautiful mountain just blow up. And then I was rushed like the wind, seeing everything going on as the trees were going, whoop, and people, and rivers. A year before it happened. It's going to do it again. I don't know what year or date. I know it'll be in another beautiful spring-like morning, like the first time. And I know it's going to blow out what, if anybody knows anything about the St. Helens area, that we have what they call the ape tubes over towards Cougar, Washington, real close to the Oregon border. And it'll blow right there through that side, literally come out first, right through those former lava tubes called the ape caves. And that whole side of that mountain, that whole side just boom, blows away. Cougar, man almighty, I don't even know if archaeologists will find it ever again, even in the far future. And we haven't got long of a far future ahead of us, maybe 2,000 more years or so after what ends here. And then the whole earth will go poof. I saw that. Yeah. But Mount St. Helens will blow. It'll be beautiful, warm, sunshiny, early morning, anywhere from, maybe as close as 6 o'clock to no later than maybe 10 o'clock. And it just goes. Boy, does it go. And you think the top going up was something. You wait until you see this. There's people around that have busted teeth and ended up with a little, what do we call them? Box Canyon, 4-tooth. And St. Helens looks like a pretty beat up little box canyon, just a little part of a rim standing there for eternity. Well, until the real end time. But it blows towards Oregon, towards Portland. I didn't see it go into Portland. I wasn't showing that. If it does, I don't know. But suddenly the wind comes whipping up, catching all that dust, and boom, right past Longview, Kelso, Castle Rock, towards Tacoma, towards Seattle. And I was showing my house where I was living at the time. An old structure that had, it was on a hillside, a steep hillside, so part of the structure, was 10 or 12 feet, being held up by sticks. And all of that was gone in the sense that it was covered with ash. And it had an upstairs to it, more an attic, but people would sleep in it. And I was seeing from that area where it was, the hillside went down. And all I could see was maybe 10 inches of the ridge of the roof of the house. The rest was all ash. This was part of the vision I'm speaking of. And the wind took that down towards Tacoma, and 10 inches easily filled Tacoma and Olympia. And I don't know if it reached Seattle, but suddenly the wind shifted and whoosh, took it into eastern Washington, like it did the first time. Boy, what a mess. It's going to happen, folks. At the same time frame area. Again, minutes, days, weeks, months, couple of years, I don't know. There'll be a 7.2 earthquake rolling up from Portland, Oregon area, up our coast into Washington state. And it will be reported 7.3 by some. But the voice that was showing me this narrated 7.2. Some will say 7.3, but it is 7.2. Quote, unquote, the Creator speaking, audible voice. And I watched again, beautiful day. Might have been summer, but it looked like spring. So it might take effect before St. Helens or after, but it has to be before. Because after it was all ash, and there's no way in heaven and hell that all the machines on earth could move all that ash to make it look like a sin. So it has to. And I literally watched the coolest darn thing. It was catch a spirit or whatever you call it, but it was still cool to watch. The earth, like a giant, well, not real giant, but 10, 12-foot high wave. The earth just like a wave being pushed to the shore, coming towards me as I watched. And I watched telephone poles all of a sudden rise and tilt, houses going like this. As, you know, it's just lifting the earth. It was like a giant worm was under the earth rolling. And it will take place. That should all take place really soon, probably within 3 years. And now, don't quote me. I'm just assuming, right? Also, Mount Si, Little and Big Mount Si, by Snoqualmie Pass, North Bend, Washington. It stopped me. I'd heard of Mount Si. I didn't know where it was. I heard it was by North Bend, so I knew I'd driven by it dozens upon dozens of times, but I didn't know it. Didn't know the name. I mean, put a name to the mountain. And lo and behold, this short little mountain called me as I was coming towards it. What? I've only had a mountain talk to me once. That was Mount Rainier. But this darn mountain's calling me, wanted me to stop. It wanted to tell me something. And what the heck does this mountain got to do? Now, this is not part of the vision, but it falls into part of the great vision. It's all really included. And anyway, so I told the lady who was driving the car, that mountain wants to talk to me. And she said, oh, Mount Si, that's Mount Si? Yeah. I said, yeah, it wants to talk to me. So we pulled off and went inland a little bit off of the freeway, I-90, and parked at this business place. And the lady got all excited. It happened to be her brother's business place. And she hadn't seen him in years and knew he was somewhere in this state. But here she is parking at his company's parking area. And she went in just joyous to chat with her brother. And I was given permission to go to the back and talk to the mountain. And I said, okay, here I am, basically. And it proceeded to show me that it too will blow. Well, there's two mountains, Big Mount Si and Little Mount Si. And it showed me the past. Big Mount Si was all Big Mount Si. Little Mount Si was the top. And it showed me the past. Big Mount Si was all Big Mount Si. Little Mount Si was the top. And there had been a volcano there. And it blew it up, the top, and moved it to the side and came down flat. The top of Mount Si blew off and shuttled over to the west, to the left, the way I was looking at it, and just came flat down. This whole top of this even with the top on small mountain, and it landed on a whole tribe of people, killed them instantly, just pancaked them. And they're there to this day under Little Mount Si, and that area, because of them, has become a sacred place. And their chief, wonderful man, kind of young, good-looking guy. He watches over Mount Si, and he watches over his people, and he watches over the land round about. But Mount Si told me, now hear me folks, I'm only a reporter, I'm going by what I'm told. I have no real way of testing this other than to wait and see. But the mountain, Big Si, it told me that it was going to blow up within 2.5 and 3 years. So it should be pretty darn soon, about 1.5 years or so, since the only time I've talked to it a couple of times since. And when I say talk to it, I'm talking with it. And yes, mountains can actually talk. God is in all things. I don't worship the tree or the mountain, but I am aware that they know their place and that they too have their own ability to talk to each other or their kind, and to talk to all nature. Be it a tree talking to one tree, it can talk to an insect. A mountain talking to another mountain is talking to all the mountains all around the world, including under the oceans. And they conversed with each other. But anyway, it says that it's going to blow again, this great Mount Si, Big Mount Si. But it also blows under Little Mount Si. This time, that the rocket point tip of Little Mount Si that sets to its left to the west will rise up, go over the top of Big Mount Si, and come down on the other side. I hope there's no Indians living there this time. But nevertheless, it's really something. And I was showing this cliff, and anybody coming from Seattle to eastern Washington on I-90, if they know where Mount Si is as they're going past North Bend, Washington, they can see this cliff. And I was showing Big Si, this cliff oozing, a slow ooze of blood red lava coming out this great party. The cliff has two parts to it. One stands away from the other a little bit, and it just starts flowing out through there. But it's a volcano and very active. Well, while I was out there talking, the owner, son came out. Guy in his, I imagine in his very high 20s, and asked me what I was doing. Well, I'm a nut. I don't care. And I told him I'm talking with the mountain. The mountain wanted to talk with me. And he looked at me, he says, what's it saying? And I told him, and he said, he introduced himself and I to him, and said, right up, that's strange. I have an uncle that worked that mountain as a lumberman all his life, a large Mount Si. And he said that mountain is just filled with caves and tunnels. And they used to go into it years ago. But now they can't because it's full of sulfur. None of them. They can't go in any of the holes. Well, the mountain showed me a little spot, and it wanted me to walk up there. And it had something wanted to share with me at that spot. But dang, I'm just too old, and right now I got a toe gone, and That's a steep climb, even in my youth. And I told it, I don't think I'll be able to do it. But I know what the mountain wants to do. It wants me to go into that spot. Believe it or not, friends, people can walk through walls or through a stone cliff or deep dirt, actually physically, and be inside. And it would show me things. And I know if I could do it, that could be. But I don't think I'll be able to do it. And as I said, the mountain has talked to me before or since. And it so much wants to share with me up there at that spot. And I feel so sorry that I feel that I am unable to go up there. But heck, I'm getting old, man. It's all I can do to climb out of bed in the morning. But I don't know. Maybe I will, God willing. Only Dad knows for sure. But yes, there are places where people can walk right into it and be at another place, another time plane, not dimension, not parallel time, but a plane, a different place. And well, that's enough of that. Now, understand, God didn't tell me this was going to take place with this particular mountain. But this does, and this was years after my great vision. But in the great vision, I saw a great volcano activity going on all over the place, earthquakes and everything like I've shared. And so you can say that if this is true, and only time will tell, that what I was shown by the mountain itself does not in any way disagree with the Great Vision. So you can include it into the Great Vision. So that's why I brought that up. Oh, there's so much I know about my little area and stuff. I'm an inner Hyoka. I am a Hyoka. I am a Red Web member, society member. And the Red Webs are the last society told, I don't know how long ago, that at this time, the time our mother's going to flip again, there will rise up one more society, the last society. As I spoke of, the weather goes crazy. And I've seen steam coming out of the beds of rivers and creeks and ponds and small lakes. Steam! To the point, I'm looking at it right now. The Creator is redoing this. I'm actually seeing it as I speak. Bubbling. Like you put on a little pan of water and let it boil, come to a boil, and just steam coming up. Bubble, bubble, bubble. The bottom of our walking area, the surface that we stand on, it goes mad with lava work, and it just heats up waters. It's so hot. No, man. The only reason he'd go in that water is to commit suicide. It wouldn't last long. Like throwing a live lobster into boiling water. I've seen that. That's part of the Great Vision. The skies go mad, folks. The skies go mad. The storms come from all over, and they're strange, and they're huge, they're giants. And then all of a sudden there'd be a little dinky area, calm as can be. Those people in that little area, be it a whole city area or just an area in the woods where a guy happens just as safe as if nothing's going on at all. Really strange. But I tell you, since that time I have, through other, well, as a medicine man and a Hyoka medicine man, I have contacts throughout different agencies of our U.S. government. Even the good book says there's only one thing that lasts. One name. Love. If we don't find that, we find destruction. And friends, that's where we're headed. Look in the good book and see what happened to people when they would follow. Either an individual or a nation would follow Papa. Do what he told them to do. And meant it. Their heart connected to their tongue, not this rambling on. Saying good and wonderful things. Doing good and wonderful deeds. It's all white noise to Papa. When you got that tongue connected to this heart, and that heart is connected to Papa, then he understands that that's not white noise. We can change our future. You can change it in your own house. You can change it in your neighbor's house just by being good, godly. And it slowly spreads a little at a time until it cascades. And then the next thing you know, your whole village is cascading this Matakwi wash in one relation, love. And then it goes from the village out into the wilderness of the cities, and out into the wilderness of whole countries, and across the oceans. And once again we live in a land called paradise. It can be, but it takes you to do it. Read the good book. Look where they followed the Creator and all the goodness that came of it. And then they got away from Him. And He guarantees, He writes it. If you do this, this, and this, good stuff, you're going to have a wonderful reward. You will get a reward. And when they did that, they became very rich, very well fed. They were very happy people. But when they slowed down and got rid of that, they just cut it off at the base of the tongue. He said, if you do this, this, and this, though, you too will get the same thing that you got doing it the right way. A reward. Except this reward you're not going to like. You, as mothers and fathers out there, you know you don't like a lot of things that your own kids do. But that does not stop you from loving your child. Shouldn't anyway. Just don't like what they do. You know that you warn and warn and warn and warn and warn someone that's doing something wrong again and again and again and again. It makes no difference to them. They might square away for a few days or weeks or moments. And you got to warn them again. And this is what Dad has been doing to us for centuries. Now the spanking is on its way. You, as parents, know that there's a time. That's it. I've had it. I gave you plenty of chances. Grab them over the knee and swat them on the butt or whatever. Dad's at that stage now. And you can repent. Turn away from sin, disobedience to God. Take the spanking. Be a man about it. You deserved it. And then just say, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I understand you were serious. That spanking when it comes, because Daddy, the Great One, knows your heart. He knows that you're going to repent. It will hurt your fanny and put some fire into that skin. But it is a light spanking compared to what will take place if you do not have truth in your heart that He knows. And it's going to be a hard spanking. He loves us like we love our own children. He warns us as we warn our own children. And finally, enough is enough. You get your reward. but he still loves us. All right, blisters and things like that. Skin adhesions, I don't know the right word. But just popping up all over the skin. Unexplainable. Don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I do. These dang chemtrails. Part of another government experiment you are paying for so that the controllers can control you. To them we are mere sheep or cattle to use at their pleasure. Control us. Hair falling out in big clumps. Just sicknesses that are just pollution caused. It appears to me, I wasn't shown this, but it seems these sores and the blindness. People going blind. Blind. Cataracts in their eyes. At best they can see shadows, at best. Just because some dingbat decides, hey, if we try this thing, well, let's give it a go and see what we think it can do, and let's see. And usually they're right, but quite often they're only partially right. It gets out of hand. AIDS and stuff has gotten out of hand, a man-made disease. This chicken flu has gotten out of hand. Chicken flu existed, but jumping into mankind didn't. I tell you, folks, they want to control the food, they want to control the water, they want to control where you poop. They want full control for their own ego's sake, their own ungodliness. And you're letting it happen. In these sicknesses that are being presented that have really gotten out of hand, in many cases, literally gotten out of hand. Because these damn scientists think they know so damn much, but all they are children playing a game that they're too young for. Just because the game is there in the board, in the box, doesn't mean wow, I got a game. You got kids playing these TV games with their little throttle things. 5, 6 years old, playing games that supposedly are meant for kids in their teens. Children that have a game does not necessarily mean they have the brain to play the game. And our scientists are like that. Idiots, I tell you. Screwball idiots. And these things are getting out of hand. And they know it, and it scares them. But, hell, we got the money. Maybe we can control it. Let's keep working at it. Maybe they can. But I doubt it. Dad's going to have to stop it all. Mama's going to flip. And when she flips, winds are going to be ferocious. And trees are going to fall on your houses if your houses aren't blown away. And when you dig a hole to jump into just to be safe from these 300 plus occasional gusts of wind, guess what? That wind's going to go right across that land, straight across. There's your little dugout hole. And it's going to suck the top out of it, and you're going to pop up into the air, suckers. You better dig dang deep. At least 13 feet of earth over you. And you better have real tight windows and walls and doors. Just suck it open. A lot of people die in firestorms because a fire takes out the oxygen as it passes by. Unburned, but just as dead as if they'd burned to death. Because they want the air, and you can't live long without that. Well, it's going to happen with the winds and stuff. I tell you, true survivors, well, it's going to happen with the winds and stuff. I tell you, true survivors, if you truly want to survive, don't buy guns and ammo. Buy a good book and start trusting what it says. Because you can stand in that 300-mile wind while your neighbors are being sucked out of their little hidey holes, and that wind isn't going to touch you at all. There's a difference between one who is in right standing and those who live in fear or other than right standing. It's happened in the past. The Old Testament is full of that kind of strangeness, where people survived that under normal circumstances they had no business surviving. Dad takes care of you if your heart is right. Now I saw something in that vision that wavered. It was not a non-truth. It wavered. In this particular case, it was showing me that this is a probability, but the event could or could not take place. Civil war. Blacks against whites. Indians against whites generally. Mexicans against whites. Whites against Mexicans. I don't care if you know the sweetest black man or Mexican man or woman that would cause no harm at all in this crazy world of madness. Guns and stuff. You might love that person who's trying to go next to a building 3 buildings away, knowing full well that that person is a good person. You know it. But maybe your neighbor across the street who's got a .30-06 in his hand or her hand with a nice rifle scope, they don't know that person. So that person is just SOL. Shoot out of luck. Down they go, blown away. And guess what? You might be like that person. So what happens? You end up barricading yourself in a house, your own home. Where can you go out safely? There is no safety. And what happens? By the way, this is designed by government, so that they say, our U.S. government I'm speaking of, look, we're going crazy. Our own armies cannot even control our own people. UN, come in and help us. That's the plan. One world government, people laugh at the thought. Some don't. I tell you, I don't laugh at that. I see it. I've seen it to be. It's all set up, and it's all in the good book. Read that good book. I don't care what religion or non-religion you are. There's truth in there. You think what this old man is sharing about the 3 days of hour and a half, 2-hour vision over each day is news? It's nothing. It's in the good book, written thousands of years ago. Read it. I don't care if it's against your religion to read the good book. Hide and read it. You're going to be amazed, because Papa will open your eyes. All right, so now we got this crazy civil war that may or may not come. I tell you the truth, that still stands. It may or may not come. I see the probability is greater that it will, but it still wavers. But it is sheer madness. The only one that are safe, the only person that is safe with any other, is you safe with yourself. Period. You can't even trust your mate or your kid. You can't trust yourself around your kid or your mate. Brain madness. Madness that is unbelievable. This madness, if it comes, will spread eventually around our mother, the great turtle. Every country will have it. But thank you, Creator. We're America. We are the leaders. And believe me, you're going to be the first to show it. Aye, aye. Church is breaking up. This is taking place now and has for the last very few years, but it will escalate. And I'm not speaking just of the so-called Christian churches. I'm speaking of all religion churches breaking apart. And I used to think in my own thoughts that would mean the traditionalists will stay in the building, the non-traditionalists will leave. That still holds true. But the traditionalists staying in the building will break up to another traditional type way of worship. The non-traditional says, oh, they're crazy. They don't know what's going on. They're going to break up. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. New Age is part of that breakup. And even they can't agree with each other. And they're breaking off not just to general New Age to, I'm, what is it, Wiccan, or I'm this or I'm that, out of New Age. But they still, Wiccan and stuff existed ages ago, just a religion. But it's going to get tinier and tinier and tinier. The so-called traditional churches will soon, in this breakup, are traditional churches, be it Arabian style or Buddhist style or Voodoo style or Christian style. And people are going to be looking for the truth. The good book says, watch out at this time. I'm paraphrasing. That even the elite can be fooled. And I find that. The elite that break away from say the Christian church as an example. Now they're not traditionalists. They're elite. And they're going to find that within their eliteness, somebody says, no, this is a better way of being free in this eliteness. So they break away. And then that group will break into a tinier group. I tell you true, in the end time of it all, there'll only be a handful out of a body full of people that really have got it right. Are you one of those? If you aren't, you better start praying about it. Metakwiyawashin, one relation. I call people brother and sisters, and a lot don't like it. Tough. Do you know why I can say brother and sister? Because the Creator daydreams us into existence. We are all from God's mind womb. He's my daddy and mommy. So is he yours. Whether you claim you don't believe in this great one or not, doesn't matter. You believe in you. That's why you're here. But nevertheless, folks, you've got to have the mind of a child, that belief system, that innocence, to be right in the sight of Daddy. And how many of you can do that? How many? So the kids taking control of the adults. And the government wants that to be. In the state of Washington, and I understand at least one other state, they have this similar law. If I yell at my kid, grandkids or whatever, and that kid is old enough and intelligent enough to know to pick up a telephone and call the police department and say, my dad's audibly harassing me, there is a knock on your door and you can be carted off to jail, arrested for mental abuse. And God help anybody that spanks their kid or grips their hand or arm. Physical abuse. And what happens in the long run, and the plan is, I guess it's a meteor. It was burning, and it was hot. And it came down. Now, understand, I'm both in a Hauk and a Hauka. That means backwards. So sometimes what I see is backwards. I saw it go in the Pacific Ocean and hit. And this is also one of the great reasons the earth shatters. You take a fresh egg and throw a rock at it. That's what you got. This thing's big. Big. It is a small mountain. And it hits, luckily not on land proper, but very close to land in the ocean. I saw it in the Pacific. Others see it in the Atlantic. So I don't know. I see things backwards sometimes. But the earth cracks. And the great shudder and the skies change. And the floods come. And people perish. It's just part of the whole thing that Mama is in the process of now. Anyway, these underground bases that are being made in unsafe areas, if I was in the military, I would consider getting out in a hurry or as soon as possible, or literally even going AWOL. They're putting you places that you don't stand a chance. But then again, who cares if they're up there in a bigger part, you know, a lot of general stripes. You're just, I don't know, you're just a disposable Bic pen in uniform. But there's a lot of underground bases. There's a book out, I understand, maybe more than one, on underground places. And it doesn't even come close to showing everything that's out there. And it's almost always in the process of being built for a new place here and a new place there. The things I know, man. The reports I get from people who are ordered out of the National Force by the military at gunpoint, and the helicopters flying in with big crates under their bellies, flying way off into the boonies somewhere. And gee, the things I know. But in the future, women will find equality with man. And it will not be a man-dominated government, or world for that matter. It will be Matakwio Ashen, all related as one. And the women's place will come back to where it belongs and has always belonged. And decisions will be made with male and female combined. And hopefully, with God as the head. But our time is short. Though I wasn't showing this in the vision, I tell you true. The year 2012 was the day of the two, or the year if you want, of the two, if you want to call it this, it's not the proper name, but end time probables. What the Aztecs and the Maya did they were seeing the future, distant viewing, the whites call it. We just call it seeing. And their holy ones and spiritual ones would get together and do spirit trips to see what's happening here and there along the way of mankind's life. And the probabilities were slowly chipping down, until only two remained in that year, 02 or whatever it is, or 12 rather. They could not see which of the two probabilities left for mankind to take was going to be taken. So that's it. That's as far as we can tell. We don't know if mankind is going to make a good decision and walk the red road or make a bad decision. And according to Scripture, they're going to make the bad decision. Armageddon will loom then, big time. But It's not the end of civilization in the year of 12. It's just the end of, they didn't know. It was just so possible to go one way or the other. I mean, nose to nose possible. And they didn't know which way they were going to take mankind. So they just said, that's as far as we can go. We can't go any further. Again, I do not want you to understand that I am spreading fear. I am spreading hope, telling warnings what will take place if we continue on the course we're going. Without connecting to God individually and then hopefully in great masses, we're headed for hell in a strange, most horrible way. But women will have their place again. Women gave it up long ago. And man has taken over, and the pendulum that man has held is now, hear me, now free. And it's swinging. And the New Agers and the woman liberation and this and that, they're grabbing at the handle of the pendulum and saying, oh, it's ours now. And they're doing just as wrong as a man saying it was ours. When the pendulum is released by both sides and allowed to swing back and forth until it holds steady and still, straight up and down, there will be unity. And if they let the Creator be the great leader, there will be peace. And Ishkane, the Son of God, the one the whites call Jesus, He will bring that peace for 1,000 of our years. You will know peace, but it will not be easily won or given. There will be turmoil. This is part of the vision. There will be turmoil as they learn to let go of that pendulum. And it'll take a while. And Christ will rule with an iron rod, showing full well that there are people, nations, countries, that don't want to do it. That's all right. It's going to be stiff. It's going to be hard on those. But in time, they'll recognize that, this great leader, this one, this God-man on earth, knows the right way, peace, that we don't have to hate each other. But it'll take a long time to wash away that thing called pride, self, ego. But in time it will happen, and then Lucifer will be let loose, and I saw that. And it'll be a long time for that too. This scriptures call it for a season. Scriptures says that one of our days or one of his days is like 1,000 years to us. So it'll take a while, but it'll happen. Then I went forward, greatly forward, into the future time, after Armageddon. If we do not change after Armageddon, I'm assuming that we're not changing. God help me in my assumption, forgive me. But I try, I do my best. But Lucifer is very real. I don't give a dang what my full-blood brothers claim. There is no Lucifer. Boy, you got a shock in store for you. He'll be loosed again, and things will go wacko again, just like we are now in the world today. Now I'm telling you from the vision. And believe it or not, we get worse than we are today. In a very short season. I guess it's a meteor. It was burning, and it was hot. And it came down. Now, understand, I'm both in a Hauka and a Hauka. That means backwards. So sometimes what I see is backwards. I saw it go in the Pacific Ocean in the end. And this is also one of the great reasons the earth shatters. You take a fresh egg and throw a rock at it. That's what you got. This thing's big. Big. It is a small mountain. And it hits, luckily not on land proper, but very close to land in the ocean. I saw it in the Pacific. Others see it in the Atlantic. So I don't know. I see things backwards sometimes. But the earth cracks. And the great shudder and the skies change. And the floods come. And people perish. It's just part of the whole thing that Mama is in the process of now. Anyway, these underground bases that are being made in unsafe areas, if I was in the military, I would consider getting out in a hurry or as soon as possible, or literally even going AWOL. They're putting you places that you don't stand a chance. But then again, who cares if they're up there in a bigger part, you know, a lot of general stripes. You're just, I don't know, you're just a disposable Bic pen in uniform. But there's a lot of underground bases. There's a book out, I understand, maybe more than one, on underground places. And it doesn't even come close to showing everything that's out there. And it's almost always in the process of being built for a new place here and a new place there. The things I know, man. The reports I get from people who are ordered out of the national force by the military at gunpoint, and the helicopters flying in with big crates under their bellies, flying way off into the boonies somewhere. And gee, the things I know. But in the future, women will find equality with men. And it will not be a man-dominated government, or world for that matter. It will be Metakweo Ashen, all related as one. And the women's place will come back to where it belongs and has always belonged. And decisions will be made with male and female combined. And hopefully, with God as the head. But our time is short. Though I wasn't showing this in the vision, I tell you true. The year 2012 was the day of the two, or the year if you want, of the two, if you want to call it this, it's not the proper name, but end time probables. What the Aztecs and the Maya did they were seeing the future, distant viewing, the whites call it. We just call it seeing. And their holy ones and spiritual ones would get together and do spirit trips to see what's happening here and there along the way of mankind's life. And the probabilities were slowly chipping down, until only two remained in that year, 02 or whatever it is, or 12 rather. They could not see which of the two probabilities left for mankind to take was going to be taken. So that's it. That's as far as we can tell. We don't know if mankind is going to make a good decision and walk the red road or make a bad decision. And according to Scripture, they're going to make the bad decision. Armageddon will loom then, big time. But It's not the end of civilization in the year of 12. It's just the end of, they didn't know. It was just so possible to go one way or the other. I mean, nose to nose possible. And they didn't know which way they were going to take mankind. So they just said, that's as far as we can go. We can't go any further. Again, I do not want you to understand that I am spreading fear. I am spreading hope, telling warnings what will take place if we continue on the course we're going. Without connecting to God individually and then hopefully in great masses, we're headed for hell in a strange, most horrible way. But women will have their place again. Women gave it up long ago. And man has taken over, and the pendulum that man has held is now, hear me, now free. And it's swinging. And the New Agers and the woman liberation and this and that, they're grabbing at the handle of the pendulum and saying, oh, it's ours now. And they're doing just as wrong as a man saying it was ours. When the pendulum is released by both sides and allowed to swing back and forth until it holds steady and still, straight up and down, there will be unity. And if they let the Creator be the great leader, there will be peace. And Ishkane, the Son of God, the one the whites call Jesus, He will bring that peace for 1,000 of our years. You will know peace, but it will not be easily won or given. There will be turmoil. This is part of the vision. There will be turmoil as they learn to let go of that pendulum. And it'll take a while. And Christ will rule with an iron rod, showing full well that there are people, nations, countries, that don't want to do it. That's all right. It's going to be stiff. It's going to be hard on those. But in time, they'll recognize that, this great leader, this God-man on earth, knows the right way, peace, that we don't have to hate each other. But it'll take a long time to wash away that thing called pride, self, ego. But in time it will happen, and then Lucifer will be let loose, and I saw that. And it'll be a long time for that too. This scriptures call it for a season. Scriptures says that one of our days or one of his days is like 1,000 years to us. So it'll take a while, but it'll happen. Then I went forward, greatly forward, into the future time, after Armageddon. If we do not change after Armageddon, I'm assuming that we're not changing. God help me in my assumption, forgive me. But I try, I do my best. But Lucifer is very real. I don't give a dang what my full-blood brothers claim. There is no Lucifer. Boy, you got a shock in store for you. He'll be loosed again, and things will go wacko again, just like we are now in the world today. Now I'm telling you from the vision. And believe it or not, we get worse than we are today. In a very short season. believe it or not, we get worse than we are today. In a very short season, we forget Inishkane and his teaching. And we get back to self. And governors and governments will rule again. And people will return to craziness and killing again. Years of peace. But mankind will see where they're rolling, where they're going, and volunteer to have this emotion of self taken away through a form of brain work, machinery. I call them the Borgs, like on Star Wars or whatever, these guys that half human, half machine. And really, in truth, that's the way it is. But there are a rebel group that refuse this Borgdom. But here are these people walking around in Borgdom for the sake of the world, so that they're controlled, so they don't kill each other. And then there are the rebels that say, no, 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 I cannot kill each other, but I don't need, it's my will. I don't need a machine to control my mind to make me not do it. It's my will. Those are the good and right ones. But nevertheless, the vast majority of our people on earth at that time will be Borgdom type people. No emotions, no love, no fear, no hate, and all controlled by little buttons and swaggle sticks or whatever you call it on somebody's will take care of the population. I tell you true, I sense that vision. I met a man and wife who are from that time period of the Borgium. Real honest to God time travelers. I've met more than two in my life. And they came back here. Their bodies there at that time are in a coma in a hospital while they spend time here learning. Learning to break away from Borgdom and why they should break away. And learning to become free in the Creator. Because in the Borgdom, if there's a Creator, it's a guy at the switches and toggles and the buttons. Somebody that's keeping the world from killing themselves. Somebody, a human. Somebody controlled by someone or ones that feel that they know best. They're God. But it will break away. There will be a huge revival during that time. And people will rip out the Borgium and will be set free in the Creator, not in the controllers, but the Creator. Not everybody, but it will happen. And when that takes place, my brothers and sisters, in this vision I was shown so far in the future, it is unbelievable. And it is at that time that the day of judgment will take place. It's not going to be now. It's not going to be in the next 100 years. At that time. And it is at that time that the earth will disappear. Be destroyed, the Bible calls it. Well, that's the best way the seer could see it. It wasn't there anymore. Literally, it's like beam me up, Scotty, where the guy all becomes particles and appears somewhere else. That's what Mama will do. She's already done it before, long ago. Long ago. She came from another area. Perfect earth. Tiny little earth. Much tinier than now. And it disappeared. It was destroyed. To the watchers in that period, at that time, this little beautiful planet has been destroyed. It's no more. It was beamed me up, Scotty, and reassembled here through gases and so on and so forth. And in so doing, it was larger. And this is going to happen again. And that is when there will be a new heaven and a new earth, just as before when it rolled to this place. It became a new heaven, one unknown of, unseen, and a new earth, one unknown of, unseen. And to the people then, earth had been destroyed, it was gone. And it will happen again. And there will be no more sin, disobedience to God, on or in or with that new heaven, earth, and those that dwell upon it. It won't be allowed. I know so much and I understand so much about it. It's now's not the time or place. I'd love to share with you, maybe another tape or something. God is good. God is good. God is good. Hey, koete maska. Hi. Ho. When all of this starts rolling really bad, those who refuse to be controlled, the rebels, not all God lovers, but wise in their own way, they're going to be heading, highballing out, hiding, little caves, nooks and crannies, and hunted. A bounty will be paid for every body that is brought to the headquarters of this town or that town. Money. M-O-N-E-Y at first will be the bounty. And then the water shortage will become so great leading up to this particular time that in time money means nothing. Give me a gallon of water. That's like you going out and buying a brand new big Mercedes-Benz or Lamborghini. That 1 gallon of water means much. Water is going to be worth more than any gold. It would take an amazing amount of gold to get a bathtub, to take a bath, a bathtub full of water. It too, hear me, is helped along by man. The disappearance of water has much to do with HARP and our governments with an S. Not all the governments across the world, but those that think that they are the leader of governments. England, USA. Canada is related to England, certain Russia, China, and so on and so forth. For some reason, I'm not too concerned about the Japanese. Maybe in all this turmoil, they go into the ocean, and the only ones running around are the ones that happen to be on dry land in another country. But water. My brothers and sisters, the things that I get reports on, the things that I know, I trust the people. I pray about it and check it. And I can go and see the facilities where our governments in Canada and the USA are literally making underground tunnels that will drain whole areas of beautiful lakes, and all built and to go into giant caverns below us. And you'll have to go to the government and live in their cities and be controlled completely. And just to have a drink of water. That I have watched for a number of years now. I believe it's Nevada, or I think it is Nevada. It might be Arizona. I'm pretty sure it's Nevada. Whereas you drive down the road to go to big cities and stuff, and you're way out there in the boonies, and there's fences after fences of strung wire, all built into little blocks, other fences, making little squares. And that is all done by the government, not by the landowner. And the landowner that owns a piece of land way out there, the only way that, and I'm talking now, the only way that they can get to their legal piece of property is to cut through those fences, The only way that they can get to their legal piece of property is to cut through those fences, climb over those fences, trespass, or maybe get a helicopter and fly in. Their land is basically landlocked by what the government has been doing for the future. And brothers and sisters, I see these things in the vision that I hadn't told about. And it's terrible. My brothers and sisters, you are not even getting one half of what I know and have seen and have checked and have visual proof on. Water, 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 hear me, water, water, water will be life itself. Things are going to take place where your electric bill is, you just might want to just turn off all electricity. You can't afford it. Grab a bunch of blankets and stay warm during the winter. You can't turn on a dang light. And water is usually pumped to your house through an electrical system, either from the big city or out there in your backyard. In Nevada, and I believe it's Nevada, and in this case, I think also parts of Arizona. A number of years ago, not very long ago, less than 6, the county started sending out these guys to check your water well. And if you would not allow them to, they wanted to know your flow, your depth, and was the water good? And they'd write in their little book. But and there were people that would not allow them to come on their land and do so. So guess what was tagged on their property? I think it's orange, if I remember correctly, an orange sign. Had numbers and stuff. And one of the people that I know that works for this outfit that is doing this thing, one of many outfits, knows what the numbers mean. Uncooperative, i.e. enemy. The first that are going to be arrested and taken away. But anyway, water. My wife and I, we have a cistern system. Our water comes from the Creator's heavens. Only about 16 times out of the year do we have to get water from under the ground. We get all our water for bathing, drinking, laundry, dishes, and the plants, simply from our big roof. And we don't really have to worry about our electricity going off. And we don't have to pay the big amount of money every year for improving our property by having a well on board. Money, money, greed, greed. And the county to the greatest of our highest government. But it goes so deep, you don't even understand. You look at our government and say, that's it. They're the problem. I guarantee you, they're only the seeable problem. This is part of what I was shown and have since witnessed much of. No, it is warfare between the good and the evil. Literally between the Creator and Lucifer. That is where it starts and that it's where it ends. And Daddy wins. But we're the ones that are going to have to pay a big price over this winning. Okay, 666. Is it on the forehead? Is it on the hand, back of the hand? Yes, it is. It's some kind of an electronic thing. And believe me, it's going to be real rough if you don't have this little card in your hand or across the head or whatever. I mean, you won't be able to buy anything. Nothing. It might get you arrested to be outside walking down a sidewalk. You are an enemy. And at first it won't be too bad because some of your own children, for instance, they won't believe this crap as a number. And they love you enough to get you some water and some cigarettes and a little food here and there. But in time, it will be so very unlawful to do that, they will fear. And you're just SOL. Time to run. The rapture will take place, and I will go into it in a stronger thing on another tape, but there's not going to be one. There's going to be two. And Scripture speaks of two. But nuclear war, America is soon, hear me, we're in 05, very soon going to be attacked by foreign armies. 5 nations or like-minded people are going to come against us, and we will lose. That's it. We don't stand much of a chance. And it's in the process of occurring now. We got infiltrators all throughout Canada and the USA. And they'll rise up as one, as they're already embedded, but not showing themselves too much. 9/11, big deal. If that was the way the media tells you it is, I have many doubts, but nevertheless, yeah, they were insurgents that had come here and learned how to fly a plane, but there are others, the dogs, the quiet ones, that little wimpy dog that just sits over there and shudders when you look at it. That dog is very vicious. And when the time comes, it will rise up from within, as the others will come against us. The East Coast, the politicians and the big money people, save my rear, bring your army here. Meanwhile, the West Coast and down through the Gulf of Mexico, they're being invaded too. The East Coast, those invaders are constantly being fought back. They can't get a stronghold. Meanwhile, our people are, say my rear guys, they're calling the reserves from our part of this USA to fill in the gaps of the dying ones on their part, leaving us structurally unsound. And it does not take long before, through the Gulf of Mexico and stuff, the armies work their way up towards Washington State. And the ones that come in along the coast of Oregon and Washington State, maybe down into California a bit, they're doing pretty good. But the ones from the south come up, meet the ones of the west, and then they gather together and they turn towards the east, catching our eastern nations in a pincer movement. And we lose. Meanwhile, the people I watched, now that I'm speaking of the vision, people who are refugees, there's only one state that everybody seems to be merging to, running. That's Minnesota. And it gets so crowded, it's unbelievable. And I once saw a movie, and I saw this in vision. What this movie portrayed, a bunch of refugees, and water was it, and they would dig a little ditch with a stick just to get a flow of water to go over to somebody who has a bigger flow that's connected to a bigger flow, and on and on and on, until they got to the king of the water spot. And they would wheel and deal with their little trick of water just to be one of the king's group. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Minnesota is a beautiful state. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Minnesota is a beautiful state, but it will be embedded by all kinds of refugees down south, Midwest, the West, eastern states. And just a packed group of people sitting there filthy, dirty, looking for something to drink and really worrying about what to eat. It's like the foreign armies press them into this spot. But before they can do anything with these armies, or the armies can do anything with them, the great hand of God 3 times slaps down, covering all of at least America, probably North America. 3 times, wham! And wham! And wham! 3 times, 3 separate times. And this stuns the foreigners that now control us. And they literally, you will see this happen if you're a survivor. They will literally grab anything they can to get the heck off of North America's shore, at least the United States shore. Anything. Bicycles, anything with wheels. Horses. Even little cattle here and there. Something that, I mean, these guys get the heck out of here. And they go to the coast. I saw many go to the west coast, and ships coming in and unload them or rather load them on like Dover, the Cliffs of Dover incident during World War II. And get the heck off of America. I mean, nothing left. Not anything left of a foreign military person, be officer or little guy, other than those who were unable to leave. And they get off. And they go home. God saves that which remains called America. And by then, it's all, not very much land left. The water's there. Maybe the earth is doing it, the earth movement. I don't know what the 3 jars are. But I know that the earth, when she moves, when she rolls again, she will do exactly like she did the last 2 or 3 times. Roll 3 jerks before the roll is completed. And a lot of people will be dead in all over the continents and islands, all over our earth. And I think that might be the 3 hits that does. That causes these guys, they want to go home and see if their family's alive. They don't want to stay here. And they're scared to death of us for some reason. God is protecting America. Not the government, but those of the right heart. And we become docile, in a sense. We become holy. Holy, really holy, over time. But we do not become king crap, leader of world governments. Never again. We become holy, and people do come to us. This is still a long time up there. It's in the time of Christ when he returns. And we become a holy people, those who are left. But during this time of war, I watched in the vision shells from artillery pieces blowing up, but they were miniature atomic blasts. Now, mind you, this vision was taking place in the very early 70s. And I'm sure that they had it, but I had no idea about it. But I do know now that they have such shells. I was seeing it way in advance from my own knowledge. But I saw trees and stuff just denuded, dead, laying out there, what was laying. A few standing. It was horrific. And our soldiers battling the foreigners and stuff. The foreign soldiers, and dying out there. And the sky so dark. And explosions, screaming. And despair of our own military. And in all that mess, I watched people, civilians in a sense. I didn't see them with military, just normal you and I type people, walking through these vast killing fields, upright, praying for the dead and wounded, because the wounded didn't have much chance. So many that you might as well kiss your rear goodbye. But these people were in love with God, and if a shell blew up 10 feet away, or maybe even less, with all that shrapnel going through the air and the atomicness of it, breathable stuff, made no effect on these people that were out praying. Not in the least. Not even the explosion rocked their body. It was as if they were ghosts, but they were solid. And I understand that. I tell you true, if you can walk into a cliff face, energy is energy. It can happen. I myself personally, with my wife, once went through a car, never got hit. It passed through us, we passed through it. Energy, just matching energy, that's all we are anyway. So, that's what it is. People who loved God were in the battlefields, standing normally, walking normally, praying in love and caring, giving the last rites, and not a Catholic rite, but the rite of, I love you, to a dying soldier, male or female, because there were a lot of both, military. God loves you. Go in peace. As they die there, bleeding to death, in shock, and afraid of dying. These were ministering going about. It was wonderful to see. Our people, the people of right heart, have got capabilities that would make a tank stop dead in its track and not a bullet to be fired from it or a shell. We can walk through gases meant to kill anything that those gases are inhaled from, and we can walk through it in great joy because we're dead and he makes it possible. I was talking about the bounty hunters for water and money, running and hunting for sport as well as the finances involved. And those people who run, what happened to the rapture, you know? We got people out there running. Where's this rapture that saves everybody that loves God? Number one, most of you don't love God, and most of you just want to save your butt when you die. You talk about loving God, but when it comes down to it, will you be out there in that war field praying? Chances are you won't. You let somebody else that truly trusts and loves God do it. But you can say all you want and smile all you want, but you ain't going to be there. But anyway, this great escape through Armageddon, through the ascension, the ones called rapture, the one called rapture, that word I don't think is even in the Bible, but it's ascension, going up. And you have three trains of thought. It's going to happen and we're all saved. And then it's going to happen right at the beginning and we're all saved. Or it'll happen sometimes during it and we're all saved. I tell you the truth, this has happened on earth before. The earth is flipped. There's been troubles before. And people have gone underground before. And many will now. God talks about it in the good book. He says that the Hebrew race will go into the mountains during this time of Armageddon. Does that mean into the little nooks and crannies there? Yeah, well, yes, it could mean that, and probably does. But I tell you true, the mountains there are what we call rotten mountains. It's as rotten as Swiss cheese, holes and air holes from one hole to another, tunnels and caves. It's as rotten as Swiss cheese, holes and air holes from one hole to another, tunnels and caves. And when he says into the mountains, you better believe it. Maybe some will be in the cooks and crabbies right there facing the weather that our sun will give. And yet others will go into the deeper lands through a little cave hole. They're all over the United States, all over South America, all over Canada, all over the East, the Far East. They are all over our earth. But few know about it. And there will be survivors, evidently, that are not going up, but are going down. And not to hell, but to another place that I know of. And I will talk about that on another film. The world within worlds. Wonderful place. And depending where you're going. But nevertheless, people, there will be runners. And you better have your running shoes right, and I mean heart. Because you're going to be greatly hunted. You're valuable property. Your dead hide on the hood of a car can bring in a gallon of water or $500. Until the dollars don't mean nothing, the water does. Then it'll even go from a gallon to a quart. And they'll be glad to have fresh water. Collect your water now, folks. Set up a cistern system. I would consider, my advice, getting the heck away from certain areas. There are at least 2 safety place maps. Scullion makes one. A lady makes another. But what you don't know about is the Indians have had one for many centuries. And it pretty closely resembles those other 2. And don't go in fear. Only go if the Creator tells you to go. You go in fear, you're already in trouble. I come to warn you of things that can be, not that will be. If you get your heart right with God, an atomic shell can land right and detonate on the top of your head, and if there's anything that goes wrong with you, it might be a bump on the top of your head going out. I have watched the Old Testament story of birds feeding this prophet, feeding the runners, mice leading a hider, a runner, to just a little sip hole of water, just enough to get them through until they need another sip hole. The little ones will feed those that trust in God. They will personally bring something for you to eat. I'm not saying they're going to bring you a big turkey meal, but they'll make sure that there's enough there for you to get through for the next few hours or days. And you will wonder, I've watched a big group with 16 people. Most of them were 3, even 2, occasionally 1. But runners, not even knowing there was another group of runners there or over there. Filthy, dirty, torn clothing. Nothing on their back to carry. Just 2 legs and their heart with God. And God loved them. And He would make sure they had just enough to eat. Just enough to drink. And guess what else I saw? The hunters walking right through some of them. Right past. Like that. From some of them. Unseen. They were invisible to the hunters. And yet as physical as you are at that time. God will protect those who truly trust in Him. Do not trust in fear. Learn your trust now, my brothers and sisters. Learn it now. Don't just talk about it. And don't just half-arse do it. Learn to trust Dad now. Spend just a weekend, 2 days. Friday night at midnight, turn off all electricity to your house. Turn it on again Sunday at midnight. 2 days. Trusting Dad to supply your water because it ain't coming into the house anymore. 2 days to supply a way to cook your food and to keep it from rotting in the fridge. 2 days. Try it. Find out how weak you are, because you are weak. And then work on that weakness to give you strength. Work on the weakness that really is called false trust. And learn to grow in true trust. You will be surprised what can take place. 2 days, and see how you are manipulated, controlled, and trust in man-made objects and things. 2 days, no TV, no telephone, no radio, no car, no heat in your house. Try it. Tell your kids you're going to do this. Oh, they're going to go crazy. No TV, no computer to play with. Oh, they are going to go crazy. Guess what? When it comes push to shove and the actual event happens, that you need to know how to handle yourself in this time of nothingness but trust, almost everybody you need will go to 666. Putting their trust not in God at all. And the chances are better than 10 to 1 that you too will go to 666. Because you can talk trust, but when push comes to shove, you don't trust. You might be a mother carrying a little baby that has loved God all your life, claiming that you trust Him all your life. And then He puts you in a situation where there's no water, no food, no shelter, nothing. Just you and your 2 legs and what you got in your back and your little baby. And mother, I'll guarantee you, you will probably, there will be very few that don't, go to the nearest grocery store and say, okay, give me 666 so that I can feed my baby. That sounds morally good. That sounds wonderful. But it just should show you that deep down inside, you haven't trusted Dad at all. Get on your knees out there in that dry place. Say, Dad, look at my baby. It's shriveling, it's dying. It has no breast milk or whatnot. And I have hardly anything but hound dog ears here. Nothing to feed my child. Dad, I trust you. I am your child. Please, Father, you just make this survival of me and my baby the way you want it, sir. If you choose us to pass on at this time, so be it. I know that there's a time beyond this time. And I am not going to plead for my baby's life or even my own belly's filling over your will. If you want me to go to you now or tonight or tomorrow, so be it. Your will be done, Father, not mine. How many of us, and I include myself, can say that? And when put in that position, live it. Your will be done, Father, not mine. How many of us, and I include myself, can say that? And when put in that position, live it. The American natives are holding sacred knowledge that they are refusing to give out because they hate. There is no Matakwewashin except for an individual Indian in this nation and an individual in that nation and stuff, and they are not being paid attention to by their own people, hated by their own people, but they know it's true. They're not being listened to. I tell you, Indians, listen to me. You're as bad as a white man in your own way, and I feel so sorry for you. But you have been given sacred knowledge. Your ancestors, ages ago, were given it to keep for right now, to save all one relation. Not just your Indian tribe. If you save this secret knowledge for just your Indian tribe, you're killing all Matakwewashin, including your Indian tribe. But God gave you this, your people, this knowledge. My people too. I'm a half-breed. I don't give a dang what you think of me. I am what I am, tough. And he saw to it that you were not murdered, that the line called American Redskin lived on. Because even though now you only have the memories and the thoughts of sacred stuff, whereas your great-great-grandparents could do what you only know of, you still know its existence and did exist. And if you get the right heart with the Creator, you'll find out how to give all the sacred knowledge. And if you are in love with the Creator, you will overlook your problems with that Indian tribe over there. This Indian woman or man right down the street that you can't stand, or the white man in general. You will say, this is for the good of humankind. This is why we were not killed by the whites. This is why we survived. And you will start giving it out, because these knowledges are meant to be given out. That's why we're this time that you now breathe in. You think about it, you pray about it, and I guarantee you, as much as you hate me, the people, your own kind, will hate you. Will you do it for God's children? Or will you let us die? You, only you, will know. And I think that there's going to be a lot of sacred openings. A lot. The time is being fulfilled now, where the calling of all those secrets, that many of these openings and stuff that you know where it's at but don't know how to do it. Believe me, there's some of us that do. If we were notified, we could give you the knowledge. Don't let hate stop that. Don't let fear stop it. Fear of what your brother or sister or aunt or uncle or the tribe will feel about you sharing this little sacred secret that in time will get out to the world and help save mankind. You were not killed by the blankets of death, the one with typhoid fever or whatnot. You were not killed by guns and bullets, not to utter extinction. You are the remnant that still holds a little piece of knowledge that will save the remnant that will make it through the upcoming times. That's why you are alive now, because you were given special secrets, your full-blood people. And it's going to be opened up whether the others of you don't like it. Tough. I got no respect for your kind of thinking. if we do continue on our road. And by the way, I haven't fulfilled everything that's written here, expounding too much and adding a few other things. Oh, and I better add this, it's just thrown into my thought. Here just about 6 weeks ago, maybe less, a continuation, something else that concerned the 3 days of vision was given to me in a dream. And what? The safe areas that I talk about, guess what? Many of the mountaintops that we walk on, live on, great hillocks and even flatlands, they're built on the surface of number 6. We are number 6, there's 5 inner layers. And when the earth shakes and that stone will be in bad shape, but the Creator showed me even some lowlands, dead spots, let alone mountains, their feet are not formed on number 6. They are formed on the lower lands below, number 5 and number 4, and even some maybe to number 3. So what you call a mountain is a lot bigger than you have any idea about. It's only a mountain from the root of our Mother Earth's floor. You see, oh, there's the base of the mountain. No, the Creator showed me the base of that mountain or that hillock or that flat spot is several miles deeper than you're seeing. You're seeing, in a sense, the tip of an iceberg. They will be the parts that are hardly affected, except for the wind, hardly affected at all by the great earthquakes and the turmoil of our earth flipping over. All right, brothers and sisters, listen. Don't believe a word I say. I've shared as much as I can in the time allowed. Say, and if you think that I'm selling to make myself rich, forget it. You don't even need this information. But you can change the future. One can change your wife or husband's opinion if you're walking in godliness. Change the house full of kids. Change the neighbors. Change the village. Change the state. Change the country. Change the world. If you will get right with the Creator. I am warning. I am sent as a warner. What will happen if we don't get our acts together? There is hope. We do not have to lose hope. When the skies turn red for several days and nights worldwide, kiss your butts goodbye, friends. Go out, grab a beer, sit on a porch, look at the skies, get yourself drunk, and reach over and kiss your butt goodbye. Otherwise, know that God loves you, and you can change the world.